What's the deal, y'all? What's going on? I'm not sure if I made a video addressing this on his YouTube channel. I think I did. But anyway, who cares? It doesn't hurt to make another video addressing it. And it's about my belief that NCAA collegiate athletes playing revenue-generating sports, such as basketball and football, should be paid. Here's why. Those revenue-generating sports bring in millions on top of millions for these big-time universities. And I'm talking about mega millions. Like, they bring in a lot of money for these schools. From, like I said, the schools like Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Alabama, North Carolina, Kansas, Florida. These schools, these kids, like these football teams and basketball teams, make these schools a lot of money. From the NCAA, like the school will have a contract. They sign these TV deals for the NCAA tournament, for these bowl games that the football players play in. The SEC network, they'll have these $1 million deals for these kids to present their abilities on television for the likes of me and all the other fans of sports to watch and give our perspective on. So you telling me that the school getting $50–60 million for these deals with these TV networks and the kids ain't getting nothing of that? They're not getting paid for their sweat equity? That's crazy to me, especially due to the fact that, you know, people love to say that collegiate athletes get a free education. Do they really, though? Do they really? I don't think y'all understand. A collegiate athlete's education, first of all, their schedule is filled up so much, from early morning workouts, weightlifting sessions, from regular practices to film sessions. They have so much going on throughout the day that it's barely enough time for them to focus strictly on studies. It's barely enough time, so much that the schools convince, or the coaches convince these players on their teams to major in watered down curriculums. They tell them to major in these majors that aren't going to be effective for them outside of, when they get into the real world, it's not going to be effective for them to live a productive life or live a life where they're getting some type of good earning potential. Because they have a degree that means nothing in the real world, because they were convinced to major in these things so they can just stay eligible. They keep them in these majors where the kids don't even know what they're studying about. They don't even know what they're studying. They just there just to be there, barely doing any work, just to get passed along so they can be eligible to get into the field or on the court whenever game day is. And that's so wrong on so many levels, man. These kids aren't even prepared for the rigors of the real world because they've just been passed along throughout school. So when a player leaves, because only about 2 or 3% of the athletes that play collegiate sports go on to play professional, when these kids don't make it pro, they have nothing to fall back on, because that free education was just a free paper education. And yeah, they really don't, this degree means nothing, and they have nowhere to go, nowhere to turn to at that point. They're stuck working in factories because that degree was not able to have them living a lucrative life after sports was done. Also, I remember because I wrote a research paper on this when I was in graduate school at Arkansas State University. There's plenty of times where a player will get injured on the job or playing for the school, get injured while they're playing for the school during the game. And they'll assume that the school is taking care of all their medical bills, which they can and they should. But it has been instances, and I've read this, where the kid thought they were getting their medical bills taken care of, and when they didn't make it pro and they went home, they were getting billed from old hospital bills that they thought the school took care of. And now they don't even have a job. They have them in a situation where they can pay this money back. They weren't getting compensated for their likeness in former video games that they used to be in. Now they don't make the NCAA games because student athletes were starting to sue. Where Ed O'Bannon specifically, I remember, former NBA player, was suing them because these kids aren't getting paid for their likeness using video games. So they didn't get any money based off their sweat equity. They didn't get any money from the merchandise with their numbers and their names and their faces on the jerseys and stuff like that. They get no money from it. So they can't even pay these medical bills that they have because they got a degree that meant nothing. They can't get a good job from. So they're just sitting around stuck in debt, which is terrible. Then also, there are, and my homie told me this, I have several collegiate athlete friends. When they're done and they're trying to get into the real world and trying to apply themselves into the real world, they don't have anything on their resume to make them attractive to an employer. All they have is the fact that they play sports. And if they're not a team captain or things like that, it doesn't look as attractive as a person who did several internships. Like I was a regular student, so I was free to do all these type of internships during the summer. I was free to roam and find internships and do summer jobs here and there. These kids, they're on schedule where they get like a month and a half break, especially if you play football. You got to come back for spring training. There is no time allotted for these internships that I would go on, for these different job opportunities that I would take in the summertime to build up my resume, to hone my skills for the working world, professional world after I was done with college. They cannot do that. And then there's also a limitation. There's a cap put on their earning potential. They can only work a certain amount of hours where they can only make so much money. And I think that's terrible, where you put a cap on the earning potential of a student athlete just because they play a sport. Okay, yeah, they get gear, they get fed, they get certain privileges, but why can't they earn money for whatever skill that they have? Why can't they make money off a YouTube channel? They can't make money off some merchandise that they're selling if a regular student can do that. What's the problem with that? And then you have to take into the fact that a lot of these kids are coming from poverty-stricken areas. They're coming from families living in poverty. So at this point, they need the money a lot of the times. You know, and I read this in a paper when I wrote my paper. A student had their rights as a player. Like they had to sit out due to the fact that a coach or somebody brought them groceries because they were hungry. Like that stuff like that. Like what explanation is there for stuff like that? You don't know, and I don't know either. That's criminal. Like they can't get no groceries from somebody if they're hungry. That's against NCAA rules. Come on now, seriously, that ain't cool. That's not cool at all, man. And again, this is the thing. The school makes so much money off of these kids, and it's like they left with nothing after the fact. Like at least put some money in an escrow account or something like that, so where as long as they graduate, they're able to get the funds that is waiting for them. As long as they graduate, do what they got to do in school, they can get the money that's been waiting on them, the money that they earn on the field or on the court, that the school gets paid back, that the school gets rewarded handsomely for. Give them some of that money. I remember when I was in college. Now, and I went to a small college, small historically black college. Our men's basketball team earned about $850,000 for the institution, right? And I'm like, man, that's a lot of money to be made from sports. It's a lot of money. Do they see a dime of that? No, not at all. And I'm like, you know, like, dang. But see, my school doesn't have the funds that Kentucky and all the other schools have. It was an article written in 2012 addressing how much money went into my school's athletic department, which was $5 million. The University of Kentucky alone spent $5 million on their basketball team by itself. Just on the basketball team. My whole college athletic budget was $5 million. $5 million went into Kentucky's athletic team. And then, not to mention the fact that Kentucky was always in NCAA tournaments. People always buying their jerseys. Everybody coming out to all the games. All of this. And, well, as crazy as it seems, there are kids on Kentucky's team that do not go pro. Not everybody can be the McDonald's All-Americans that's always on their bench. There's guys coming off the bench that struggle to go pro. That struggle to make it professionally. So, what is to happen to them, especially if they've been taking these paper classes that mean nothing? That mean absolutely nothing for them. And there is a cap put on their earning potential. So they can't even function like I can function. I can go out here and give me a job any time of the week, how many hours I want to make. Cool. They cannot do that. Even in the summertime, when they're away from the sport, they got limitations on what they can, how much they can make, what they can accept, which is absolutely preposterous to me. Like, come on, really? Really? And like the money that the kids bring in with these non-conference schedules, these big money games, it goes to the reconstruction of the school's buildings, to recruitment efforts for the school to bring in regular students, not even just recruiting student athletes, recruiting regular students. They use their money for, they use money for the like I said, reconstruction of buildings, dormitories, facilities, all type of stuff. And the kids don't see an ounce of it. I'm like, wow, like, come give them something. Give them something, man. And some schools get stipends, correct. I know that. But not every school does that. My school, them kids did not get no stipend. They did not. They did not. And I know that. You know what I'm saying? So everybody don't get them grants and all of that where they get their money, get some money in their pocket every month and good money. Like, no. It's not happening like that across every school and every program. And I had to debunk that myth that they're getting a free education, like, because they're not. They're not. They're not getting the same education that I'm getting. They're not in there being these kids at the big time schools are not being held to the same standards that I am academically, because they have a sport where the school profits off of. So they cool with it. Cool with passing them along as long as they keep getting the money in. And even now, the NCAA in basketball, they make kids go to school. They made kids go to school for a year. Some people feel like, oh, it's for that betterment to develop better. That 1 year don't do nothing for them. That 1 year is so the NCAA can get some money off of them to milk them. These come on over here with us for a year. These schools, we can get some money about you. We can show your basketball prowess on TV. We get money for that. You know, you can get money for the fact that you playing for this collegiate institution. You're going to bring your talents here for a year. We can get our money, what we going to make off you for this 1 year, and send you on your way. So basically, like, some people consider it exploitation. In many ways, exploitation. And especially when them NCAA games is being made. Like, these kids, you know, even though they're not using their names and stuff, you know who number 5 on his team is. They got the same hairstyle, same height, same weight, everything. Like, you know who that player is. Even though they're not using names or nothing, you know this guy is Carmelo Anthony. This guy is Hakeem Warwick. Or this guy is, who else is a big time? Adam Morrison. This guy is this player. Like, you knew who these people were on the games, even though they weren't using the names because NCAA was trying to get around paying the players. So they wouldn't put their names on the games, but you knew the number, the hairstyle, all of that was the same. So you know exactly who it was, man. It's crazy. But yes, for all those reasons, collegiate athletes should be paid. I was trying to think of some other stuff that I saw during research, just off the top of my head, because I would pull these things out, you know, when I was writing my paper. Like I said, I know players that have gotten in trouble for accepting groceries. You have guys where you have instances where a player has a mother or family. Their family, on senior night, their family can't come see them play because they don't have the money to travel. If the school pays for the team if the team pays for the mother or the siblings to travel to watch the son play, they get in trouble for that. The kids' eligibility is put into question. It's like, what? Like, my mom, she don't have no money to come all the way out here to come see me play. Y'all want her here, a senior night or whatever night it is. The school can't just pay for her that one ticket for her, at least. My mom or my father, my parents can come out here and see me play. Like, man, y'all don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. People say it's free education. Them boys out there getting milked. Them boys out there getting milked for all the talents all the talents in the world. Because let's be honest, it's so many kids, they pick schools strictly based upon how good the sports team is. People went to Notre Dame in the past just because they had a good football team. And I talked to one of my former teachers, instructors in high school that said he went to Notre Dame because they had a great football team, great sports program. People went to Mississippi State. When I was down in Mississippi Valley, people went to Mississippi State strictly off the fact that Mississippi State had a good football team. They liked their football program. People go to LSU. They like their football program. Florida, they like the basketball team, and so on and so forth. So you tell me that them kids don't play a great role in recruitment for the school and overall in general. Tell me something otherwise, man. Tell me. I'm trying to think, though, I got any more points before I end this video, man. I should have pulled up my paper. It's somewhere in this laptop. I should have pulled out my paper and dived more deep into the subject matter because it's crazy. Like I said, they're not allowed to work these internships. They don't have the time, nor are they allowed to work these internships to make their resume attractive to the working world. They're not taught how to transition from being a student athlete, even though athlete is always put before student. They say student athlete, but those kids are athletes before anything at them big time schools. They not students first. They athletes first. And however the student stuff come down, that's how it is. They even prevent it from taking a certain amount of classes or a certain amount of hours. Like if they want to major in something like stem cell related, there's even been instances where I believe, I'm not gonna say there have been, but I believe there are instances where kids are like deterred not to major in things STEM related. Math, science, computer science, or chemistry, biology, stuff like that. Because they know it's going to take up too much of their time and they need them kids being strictly on their athletics because that is what got them that scholarship in the first place. School comes second, even to the coaches. As long as they can smooth talk the teachers and get them to pass you along, it's cool with them. So pay those. The NCAA needs to pay these kids for their play, especially the revenue generating sports, basketball and football. Peace.